Ukraine shares its borders with Poland, Slovakia, Hungary and Romania to the west, member countries of the European Union, as well as Moldova, which is not part of it. To the north Belarus is of course Russia, to the east with almost 2,000 kilometers of common borders. South the country is bordered by the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, populated by approximately 44 million inhabitants. Its territory is a little larger than France. Its capital is located on the Dnieper, the river which crosses the country. So after we will look at the map of languages, it divides Ukraine between on the one hand the west and the center of the country, the inhabitants, and speaks overwhelmingly Ukrainian, and on the other hand the south and the east, where we speak Russian, and more particularly in certain oblast regions such as La Creme, and which has 90% of Russian speakers, and the regions of Uganda and Onist in the northeast. So now we're going back in time, we're going back to the middle of the 8th century when the Russian or state of Kiev was founded by Vikings, the Waves. Vladimir the Great convert to Christianity in 988. St. Lucia was born. 11th century. This Slavic principality is at its peak cultural and religious center. It stretches from the Baltic to the Black Sea and controls trade routes. It is the most powerful state in Europe. Many centuries after this golden age, Cellar Russian remains in the Russian imagination the cradle of the nation. So now let's see the situation in the middle of the 17th century. In 1667, the current Ukrainian territory is already under multiple influence. The right bank of a being there in the west belongs to the Republic of the two Polish and Lithuanian nations, while the left bank in Kiev to the east and under the domination of the Tsar of Russia to the south. The Crimean Canal is populated by Tatar. At the end of the 18th century began a long period of Russian domination. In 1783 the Russians annexed La Creme, and in 1795 the Empress Catherine of Russia recovered the west bank of the Dnieper, the Habsburg Empire claiming the western regions. Within the Russian Empire the term Ukraine is prohibited. It is now the Small Street 6. It is the granary of the empire thanks to its rich black soils and also its first industrial region with rust in the eastern region of Donbass. In 1917 a new stage, the Ukraine gains independence for the first time at the end of the February Revolution and the end of the Russian Empire. In November the first Ukrainian parliament, the Rada, opposes the Bolsheviks and proclaims the People's Republic of Ukraine, except that in the east of the country a Soviet Republic of the pro-Russian Skull is it proclaimed in Kharkiv. This independence will be short-lived. The Red Army occupying the country in 1922, the Soviet Socialist Republic of Ukraine is integrated into the USSR. In these 1920s the forced collectivization of the land provoked the resistance of the peasantry and the awakening of Ukrainian nationalists. The 1930s were marked by the famine orchestrated by Stalin to break the peasantry and nationalism. It was Lolo of death or extermination by hunger, which would have caused 6 million deaths. During the Second World War the Ukrainian territory extended to the west to the detriment of its neighbors Poland, Romania and Czechoslovakia. It is estimated that 8 million Ukrainians perished during the war. In 1954 Nikita Khrushchev offered Crimea to Ukraine, the most populous model Soviet republic in the Union behind Russia. After the war Ukraine occupied a central place in the economy of the USSR, producing a quarter of the Soviet agricultural production, and Trivoli iron mines, Rog and Donbass coal supplies steel to the military-industrial complex. When in 1991 the Soviet regime collapses, Ukraine becomes independent again, although they remain in the orbit of the Russia.